Hello and welcome to today's round robin table discussion. On today's segment, we will be talking about an issue that has plagued and currently plagues the U.S. more than ever: human trafficking. For thousands of years, the trade of humans has been in practice from the Mongols to the slave trade starting during the birth of the Americas. In the 1800s, the first sex trafficking movement was started by Josephine Butler, who got rid of the CDA acts forcing women to register for prostitution. Ultimately, this movement fell into the slave trade and diverged from sex trafficking. Many thought that the practice of moving and trafficking had ended after the American Civil War, where the practice had essentially halted globally. And while the slave trade had ended, a new trade emerged, initially underground until the 1980s when it was given the name sex trafficking, coined during the second wave of the women's movement. The sex trafficking movement largely started as a discussion about women and girls in prostitution, whether free or forced. In the 2000s, the United States adopted the Trafficking Victims Protection Act, the TVPA, and the UN adopted a similar protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish the trafficking of persons, mainly women and children. The operative words being suppress and punish, and not stop entirely, as it does not stop sexual violence and the kidnapping of women and children, only the act of commercial sex. Past presidents have mentioned human sex and trafficking, but essentially put it on the back burner, and our current president, Biden, has recognized it as an issue but has not passed or suggested any legislature regarding the matter. And here to run through some more current global statistics and issues, my colleague Sammy.
Thank you, Connor. Here is some data from the United Nations Office on Drug and Crime, or the UNODC. In 2018, they collected data from 148 different countries around the world, and in general, they found that 50% of human trafficking is sexual and 38% is forced labor, with the rest being split into many different categories, including forced criminal activities, forced marriages, begging, baby harvesting, and organ removal. In general, 46% of people trafficked are women, 20% are men, 15% are boys, and 19% are girls. And overall, for sexual human trafficking, 51% are men, 67% are women, 3% are boys, and 25% are girls. For forced labor, 38% for men, 26% for women, 21% for boys, and 15% for girls. The CTDC, or Counter Trafficking Data Collaborative, reports that between 2018 and 2020, there were 108,613 documented cases from 164 countries all over the world, including 175 different nationalities. Majority of the people trafficked are between the ages of 15 to 47. Now on to Cheska regarding the United States specifically.
Thank you, Sammy. We are now going to take a closer look into the domestic impact, specifically in the U.S. Human trafficking ranges from 12 to 50,000 cases per year, depending on what people are being trafficked for. As the American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, states, the highest rate of human trafficking in the U.S. comes from New York, Florida, and California, all states with the highest concentration of immigrants. As the formal economy grows in the U.S., forced labor and trafficking are prevalent in several different industries. This is often seen when there's a lack of government regulation and oversight, and as a result, it's where employees often fail to comply with the U.S. labor laws. According to the U.S. Department of State, there is a wide variety of adversities that contribute to the continuous trafficking of victims, such as poverty, crime, conflict, violence, discrimination, lack of employment opportunities, government corruption, and/or political instability. Now shifting the focus on policies that have been put in place to combat human trafficking. According to Britannica, efforts to curtail trafficking emerged in the mid-1990s, beginning with public awareness. TVPA then was established in 2000 to monitor and provide protection and assistance to victims, which is the same year trafficking became illegal. Other agencies and organizations implemented include GPAT, IOM, NIJ, and more. Additional government-funded programs, services, and legislation available to trafficking victims include crisis counseling, short-term housing, and mental health assistance necessary for their safety. There are also special visas available for immigrants as an extra layer of protection. In terms of judicial remedies available, there is help based on criminal law, where victims can receive restitution and traffickers will be fined and imprisoned. There is also civil compensation and relief. Although there are laws and other methods of support in place to curb the persistence of this problem, human trafficking is still an issue that needs more attention and acknowledgement. Now joining to discuss the issue at an interstate level is Corday Mallo.
Thank you, Cheska. One of the most significant human trafficking relationships is found in the interstate relationship between China and the United States, as a significant number of cases have been reported over the past 40 years. Chinese women and children are stolen or sold into the sex trade by impoverished families and sent to America for sexual exploitation, forced labor, and even sold as brides. China's blind eye seems to only be worsening. According to state.gov, the People's Republic of China has not provided statistics on specific numbers or even an estimated amount of the numbers of the people that have been exploited in this process for the past few years. They have also decreased their amount of funds and resources, decreased the prosecution of people running the human trafficking rings, and overall decreased their efforts to lower the number of cases. Even the US has become complicit in the lack of intervention. Despite the significant amount of human trafficking between China and the US is doing the minimum required to prevent and prosecute these cases, and thus having little effect in reducing the amount of victims. However, the US State Department placed China on a global list of worst offenders for this crime, but otherwise is doing little other than branding China as an offender. To effectively combat human sex trafficking and trafficking in general and see an overall decrease, the United States will need to actively work and partner with China to record numbers of victims, take down the commercial trafficking rings, prosecute the ringleaders. Only in this way, while working together, will there be a decrease in the number of future cases. Government pressure by the US must be applied to make the Chinese government more accountable and lower the amount of kidnappings and lost victims. And the US must do its part and appropriately fund and support the intervention efforts, not just in words, but through deeds. To support the end of human trafficking, please contact your local House of Representatives leaders and address them on the bills such as H.R. 233, exposing the Financing of Human Trafficking Act to work on preventing future victims. Thank you so much and have a good day.